reporters individually, on the organizations themselves. So yeah, this is a scary time. These are attacks on democracy, but I want to tell you something. I am here today. I'm here today because I'm optimistic. I am optimistic. Now let me explain why. I want to explain why. And you never believe that I'd say a sentence like, I'm optimistic, and what the next sentence is going to be. I was there when Donald Trump was sworn in. It's true. It's true. No, I went, and I was maybe as far as from me to the guy in the plaid shirt right here in the front row. And I watched him get sworn in. It is burned into the backs of my eyeballs. And I'll tell you, it is actually a good thing I went, and I mean that sincerely. It is. I get tired, I might get a little discouraged, I get a little worried. I lean back, I close my eyes. I see Donald Trump getting sworn in. I'm back. Let's go. In the fight. All the way. All the way. You're back. So I think about this, and I think about, here I am on a college campus. I think about the historians. The historians are going to write about the day Donald Trump was inaugurated. It is a moment in history. They will. They'll write about it. They'll write about that dark speech. They'll write about the first fight he wanted to pick as president of the United States was how many people came to adore him. They'll write about that, but you know what they'll write about? They'll write about the next day. Yeah. They'll write about the next day. They will write about the biggest protest rally in the history of the world. They will write about the women who showed up. They will write about the friends of women who showed up. Yeah. They will write about people of all backgrounds and beliefs who showed up. They will write about white people and black people and Native Americans and Latinos and LGBTQ people, about young people and old people, about Christians and Jews and Muslims, about Americans who said, I want my voice heard by my government. Yes! You know what they will write? They will write, this is what democracy looks like. Yes! It was fabulous. It was fabulous. Did you all march? How many people in here marched? Yeah, okay. There was a big march in Washington, march in Boston. Yay! That's where I was. Marches in lots of cities all across this country. And here's the deal. Here's what makes it so exciting. Marches that weren't organized by somebody at the top, like the March Queen. It was marches that were organized by people who just put it on their Facebook page, by people who just sent out some tweets and said, anybody want to do this? And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew until more people showed up and more people showed up and more people showed up. I gotta tell you, I love the marches, and I love the marches for what they say about democracy. I love the marches for the signs. Yes, okay, all right, so my favorite. I'm heading into Boston Common, and I'm watching all these women coming in. They got on their pink pussy hats. They're like, I'm watching these guys pushing baby strollers. Good luck. And I look over and I see this tall guy, and he's got this little girl up on his shoulders. She's about 7 years old. And she is working it. She's got her sign, and she is giving it this. And I know it is a handmade sign because it had about 4 pounds of glitter on it. 2 rainbows and a pony at the bottom. But you know what I loved about the sign? The sign said, I fight like a girl. Boy, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. But a lot of critics said, oh yeah, the women were there. They were so sophisticated, the critics said, but will they be here next week? And the answer was, oh yeah. We're coming back. How about next month? Oh yeah, we're coming back. In fact, how one rally begat another. You know, the one, I also have to say, all the folks who got out and rallied for science. Can we just I tell you, you know that the word has spread that democracy is on the ropes when the nerds come out. But I gotta say, best signs ever. My personal favorite, beer, brought to you by science. I watched democracy rewire itself. I watched it rewire itself last summer when the Republicans were determined they were gonna roll back health care, right? They're just gonna get rid of it. 35 million Americans, okay, and other millions Americans drive up the cost, pre-existing conditions, right, the whole business. And what happened? People all across this country rallied for health care. And here's the part that got me. People who already had health care rallied for people to have health care because health care is a basic care. So that's basically just how I see it. And you want to understand why I'm optimistic? That's the reason. It's because this isn't a moment, this is a movement. We're all the way in on this. Yeah. Despite the chaos that comes out of Washington on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a quarter hourly basis, minute by minute, democracy is reinventing itself. And we are discovering as a country that we have a lot more that unites us than divides us. And make no mistake, we are going to build an America, not just an America that works for a thin slice at the top, not just an America that works for the richest and the most powerful, not just an America that can afford to hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers, but an America that works for all of us. That's what we are going to build an America with leaders who are determined to give everyone a fighting chance. We are going to build an America with leaders who stand up for the people who elect them. We are going to build an America with leaders like Rich Cordray. So I want to talk about Rich for just a minute. And the way to do this is I want to set the stage for you just a little bit. And I want to look back. Okay, so we're going to start with the Code of Hammurabi. Just kidding. Although it is one of the first consumer protection statutes out there, but I'll stop there. Okay. All right, okay. But I really do. Let's start in the 1990s. This is when the Wall Street banks just basically started calling the shots. And our regulators just sat on their hands. You know, Wall Street fat cats took charge and special interests made their voices heard, and they drove our economy off a cliff and crushed millions of American families. The Great Recession of 2008 hit everyone hard, but Ohio took a punch right in the face. Over 400,000 Ohioans lost their jobs because of the greed of fat cats. Thousands of families were forced out of their homes. For-profit college chains lied to thousands of Ohio students and tricked them into taking on mountains of debt. So, when the Democrats got in the majority in the election of 2008, Congress said, never again. And the centerpiece of their work was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Yay! I always cheer when I get to say CFPB, yes! You know, because this was an agency that was designed to just help level the playing field. An agency that would always put people, not Wall Street, not big fancy banks, first. They'd get out there and have the backs of folks who were getting cheated. So President Obama asked me to come to Washington to set up his new baby agency, and I needed help. And so I called Rich Cordray. Rich understood what was at stake for American families. He wouldn't be coming to Washington to make a name for himself. He would be coming to Washington to fight for you, because that's the kind of person he is. Let's face it, Rich is not flashy. Okay, he's a nerd. Just like me. I like nerds. He's quiet. He's unassuming. He's humble. But deep down, there is a fighter. And not just any kind of fighter. Rich is the kind of fighter I love. He is a fearless fighter, my kind of man, you bet. And so for 6 years, that's exactly what Rich did. He fearlessly fought the bullies that devastated Ohio's families. He took on AIG, he took on Merrill Lynch, he took on Bank of America, he took on Fannie Mae, he took on Freddie Mac. He took on cheaters like Corinthian College and Bridgepoint College. He took them on, and here's the best part of this story. He took them on and he won. And because of Rich's courage and because of Rich's tenacity, his office forced Wall Street to return money all across America, and to return nearly $2 billion right here to families in Ohio who'd been cheated. So now, the people of Ohio have an opportunity to take an important step in bringing that kind of leadership home. You have the power to fight for a leader who will fight on behalf of the little guy. A leader who will have your back when it matters most. A leader who will change the system so that it works for Ohioans, not against them. You have the opportunity to make Rich Cordray the next governor of Ohio. But this happens only if you make your voices and your support heard loud and clear. Because here's the truth. Rich spent the last 6 years fighting and winning for all of you. Under his leadership, the CFPB handled more than 1 million complaints from people who'd been scammed on their credit cards, cheated on their mortgages, and tricked on their student loans. And understand what that means. That gives special interests more than 1 million reasons to want to work hard to make sure that Rich never gets elected governor of Ohio. So let's be honest. Wall Street banks hate everything that Rich stands for, and they will stop at nothing to prevent him from becoming your next governor. But they have underestimated one unshakable truth. They got money, they got power, but there's a whole lot more of us than there is of them. So, I'm here today because Rich is my friend. I'm also here because Rich is a good man who shares our values. And so, since we're all together, I just want to spend a minute together reaffirming our values, talking about the things that we really do fight for, the things we get up for early in the morning, the things we stay up for late at night. And let me just start with some of the basic things we believe. We believe that health care is a basic human right, and we will not let Republicans rip it away from millions of people. believe in accountability for Wall Street banks and corporations like Wells Fargo and Equifax. And when CEOs break the law, they ought to go to jail just like anyone else. Workers have a right to come together, to bargain together, and to build a future together. Unions built America's middle class, and unions will rebuild America's middle class. And we believe that no one should work full-time and live in poverty, and that means raising the minimum wage, and we're going to fight for it. That students ought to be able to get an education without getting crushed by student loan debt, and that means debt-free college for all of us. We believe that after a lifetime of hard work, people are entitled to retire with dignity, and that means protecting and expanding Social Security and Medicare. Another one I got to mention, and I just want you to know, I understand this is very controversial, particularly in Washington, so it's a little disruptive. Make sure you're kind of either sitting down or holding on to somebody here. We believe in science. Change is real, and we have a moral and ethical obligation to leave our children an earth where they can drink the water and breathe the air. You bet. We believe that immigration and diversity made this country strong. The Trump administration's ugly immigration policies and protecting our dreamers and their families. We believe that equal means equal, and that's true in marriage, it's true in the workplace, it's true everywhere in our country. That racism and sexism and homophobia, that hatred and injustice and bigotry have no place in our country. We believe that Black Lives Matter, and we're not afraid to say so. You do realize I could do this all day. I'm gonna do just one more. Because it's so right at the core. We believe that corporations are not people. We will overturn Citizens United, and we will return this democracy to the people. All right. So it's up to you. Early voting has already begun. Election day is May 8th. When is Election Day? May! I can't hear you. May! When is it? May! All right, May 8th. But have we got a deal for you? You don't have to wait until May 8th. You can vote right now. Early voting has begun. Take a friend. Take a lot of friends. Take people you don't even like. And get out and vote. And one more thing. Understand this from somebody who was a first-time candidate who got into a race that folks told me, well, you can't win it, but at least you'll have another job to go back to. Yeah, great. Sort of sound like as much fun as slamming your hand at a car door. But here was the deal. I ran against somebody who had a high approval rating, a lot of money in the bank. But lots of folks said to me, if you'll be there, you get out on point, I'll be there with you. And that's why I got in the race. And now it comes to you. You can not only vote, you can not only get a few people to get to the polls to vote early, you can volunteer, you can be part of this. And that's what makes a real difference. Nobody makes true change on their own. It takes all of us. So, Cordray4ohio.com. Sign up, volunteer, be part of this. Please, we need you on this, okay? It takes all of us. So this is the deal. This election matters. It's going to determine the direction of your community right here in Columbus for not just months to come, but for years to come, for generations to come. So, I hope you'll stand up for the little guy. I hope you'll stand up for working families. I hope you'll stand up for those who are struggling to make ends meet. I hope you'll stand up for those who haven't just already made it, but for those who just want a fighting chance to be in the game, get their chance to make it. I hope you'll stand up for Rich, because Rich has always stood up for you. My friend, Rich Cordray.
Thank you. I have been to concerts and performances here at the historic Newport. I've always been out there looking up here, not up here looking out there. I'd like to know what you think of my friends and partners on this stage. Betty Sutton. I think we have a hit. They might want you to come back and perform next week. How does that sound? Definitely at some point this year. What do you think? Yes? So it's been my honor and just a tremendous privilege and a joy of my life to work side by side with Elizabeth Warren at the Consumer Bureau in Washington, D.C. She recruited me there. She embroiled me in a long-distance commute that I thought would last a year and lasted 7 years. She's a very persuasive person. She told me that we would do for America what I was trying to do here in Ohio, which is stand up for people who were cheated, people who were mistreated, people who, what do you do when somebody you think wrongs you for $100 or $150? You gonna go out and get a lawyer and take him to court? Maybe some people would. Most people don't. You mutter about it and you subside. And there were a lot of injustices that I saw as Attorney General that I could not address because there were federal laws preempting us. There were things that were in our way. And suddenly she called me and said, we have a brand new agency. We have brand new laws. It was almost like a magician, really. There are things we can now do that you could not do before. And I want you to do them not just for Ohio, but for the entire United States of America, but also for Ohio. And when we were working at the Consumer Bureau, we were working for everybody in this room and everybody in this state and everybody across the country. And our job, as we understood it, was to stand on your side and see that you were treated fairly. And when people wronged you, to try to make it right. And when people took money from you, to go and try to get it back and put it back in your pockets. And that's what we did. And now there's another fight. It's a fight not just about consumer finance, it's a fight across all of the issues that matter to us and for the future of this state. And it is a fight about things that matter, not just in Ohio, but again, all across the country. You can see what's coming out of Washington. Every time there's an issue or a problem or a new challenge, what do? We get division, we get conflict, we get pitting people against one another, we get trying to drive some people down and blame them and scapegoat them and make them the responsible party, rather than lifting people up and working together. You heard the comments after Charlottesville, as I heard the comments after Charlottesville, and they were wrong, and they do not stand for the America we believe in. And we face a question in this room. For some of you, this may represent your first election. And by the way, Betty and I were talking the other day, every election season they tell us it's the most important election we've ever seen. Every time. And yet, as we thought about it, they're always right, because the next election is the one that matters, that we can do something about. The ones that came before no longer matter. They're in the history books. Whatever happened, whether we liked it or not, it's old news. The new news is the news that we can make for ourselves. And Elizabeth said, by early voting in Ohio, in this primary, and by getting people out to vote this fall, we have the chance to change the course of this state. We have a chance to set our own direction in this state. And what kind of course do we want to set? What kind of direction do we want to take? I will tell you that I'm learning that the direction we want to take is the direction that you believe in your generation. You are the future of this state, and we need to listen to you to bring that future to Ohio now, not years from now, now. And what do I mean? What do I mean by that? I mean, we need to stand, and Betty and I do stand proudly, for an Ohio that will govern itself along progressive principles. We have leaders in Columbus and a legislature in Columbus that is busy looking backwards, trying to take us back into the past. They continue to try to restrict a woman's right to choose to make her own health decisions. They've done it 20 times in the last 7 years, and they've got the most extreme bill of all teed up right now. We have a legislature that still won't accept and is fighting a rearguard action against gay marriage in this country when most of us have moved forward and moved on. We have people across this country who are now being happily married. Some of them are being unhappily divorced. We have moved on. We are moved into the future, and it is time people accepted that. And by the way, it is wrong in Ohio that our legislature will not move on a bill that is now the majority law in this country, that if you are married, gay or straight, you cannot then be fired from your job, you cannot be deprived of your housing, you cannot be cut off from public services. It is wrong for us not to have full equality in the state of Ohio, and we will work to change that. And when Elizabeth described me as a nerd, which she did affectionately but quite accurately, and when she described herself as a nerd, I was interested to see that all of you were willing to stand up and shout and be loud for science, right? Where do we stand in Ohio on science? Our state government took a step backwards, a step away from renewable clean energy of the future, and they have put Ohio behind other states, and they put us out of step with the world. They put us in line with the climate change deniers, to be honest with you, and it's an embarrassment to this state. We need to change that. And let me say this. Donald Trump does not speak for Ohio when he says he's pulling out of the Paris Accords and we do not believe in climate change. And we are a sovereign state. We have the power and the ability to speak for ourselves, and we will. And what we will do What we will do is embrace wind power and solar power and the jobs they will bring to Ohio. And understand, those aren't just wind power jobs and solar power jobs. There are companies around this country, like Amazon, that want to be in a state that has progressive policies, clean energy policies, and is securing its energy future in a way that is sustainable over the long term. And they will go elsewhere if we don't get with the program and move into the future in Ohio.